Hey everybody, it's Steven at Orange Umbrella, and today we're going to be drawing Ultron. And aside from that, I'm also going to be talking a little bit about some of the problems that artists have that you may not know about when you walk up and look at their pictures on the wall. One of the first problems is accidentally forgetting to hit the record button when you're filming a video. Now, this isn't strictly artists, this is also a YouTuber thing. But the reason that I strictly put this to artists right now is because when an artist starts drawing their picture for YouTube, they can't go back. There's no undo button when you're actually physically drawing a picture. And sadly, this is a common problem, and I guess the only real fix for it is to actually push the button on the camera, That's actually what happened to me here. I was gonna start with the very beginning of the picture and not leave the layout out of the picture. But sadly, the camera had a weird error in it, and I wasn't able to capture the first part. The file became corrupted, and I wasn't able to keep it. So I was really upset about that because the layout's always my favorite part of the picture, but what the heck, I can't go back in time and fix it. So, problem number one, when you have your desk full of all your favorite pencils and the one that you're using somehow disappears. I don't know how this happens. I'm pretty sure they're little invisible goblins that run around and try and take your pencils away. But this happens to me all the time, and it's so frustrating. And you're wandering around your desk in your office or your studio or whatever you draw in, and you're like, where is my pencil? And then when you finally find it, it's in some place you never would have looked because you don't keep your pencils there. Another problem that I have is when you're drawing with your favorite pen and the nib gets destroyed. All of you who use microns, I'm sure you've had this happen to you multiple different times. You're drawing, you're plotting your points, maybe you're dot bouncing, I think they call it pouncing? I don't know. Anyway, you're over there making your drawings, your masterpieces, your little mosaics of art, and all of a sudden you realize your pen is not writing anymore. And you look down and it's because your nib has become crushed. Doggone it, you're having so much fun you broke it. And so that happens to me, believe it or not, pretty frequently, especially when I'm working with the Micron brand pens. But since they're pretty much the best in their field, I can't go back and find a better brand for it. So I think I should just draw lighter, I guess. I don't know. The worst is when you're using an eraser and you just want to erase a little tiny bit, right? But the problem is the eraser has become blunt with age, and you cannot, for some reason, get that little spot that you're trying to get. Like, all the corners have been used up, and all you've got is little rounded off sides that erase everything on the page and not just the little part that you're trying to get. And then the funny thing is you're in the middle of erasing with it, and you erase more than you tried to erase. You have to redraw it, and you end up smearing things. It's awful. It's just tragic. Another thing that happens that a lot of artists probably would never admit to, but is really annoying, is when you're talking to someone over top of your picture and then your spit comes out onto the page. Or maybe the other person is talking and they spit on your page on accident. And then you have these little infinitesimal dots that you can no longer draw over because they're now moist. And everyone knows that nothing adheres to moist paper. And I'm like, this is frustrating because either you have to start completely over or you have to just live with the fact that you will not be able to draw that part. And I'm like, guys, if you're gonna watch, do it at a safe distance or don't do it over top of my picture. I'm for real. Okay, and then this puts me in another thing. Since I'm talking about people who observe your pictures, a frustration about artist life that nobody understands, except for artists, is when you're actually drawing and someone goes and is watching you draw. Now, they don't understand what a profound effect this has on your drawing, but for some reason your fingers stop working, the pen stops writing, the picture stops coming out of you, and you're like, what the heck am I supposed to do now? All of the inspiration that you just had runs out the door screaming with its hands over its head, and you're like, well, I suppose I can draw a cookie or something, because the masterpiece I had in mind is definitely not going to come out now. I mean, it's an awful thing to happen. I mean, nobody totally gets that. When you're drawing with a ruler and the ruler has a bump on it, you're like, I was gonna draw a straight line, but I guess now it's a straight line with a little hill in it because the ruler actually is kind of chipped now. And that's just evidence that you've been overusing your ruler, so you should probably check that before you get into it. just like when you're drawing on a piece of paper and the piece of paper actually has bumps and divots in it. And the reason for this is because a lot of times people will just take the piece of paper that's on the top of the stack. I know I like to draw with loose leaf paper, and when I do this, if I'm drawing with the piece of paper on top of the stack, all that I find is that the top of the pieces of paper are always destroyed. So either you want to turn the piece of paper over so that way all of the divots and damage on the top of the paper is gone, and you can draw on it that way, or just reach under the top and grab the second one. I mean, I know it's kind of wasteful, but you can always put the top piece of paper back on the stack, and then you only have to waste the one. And I found that to be helpful. Another thing is when you're filming yourself drawing, and you realize that your shadow covers the entire picture while you're drawing, and you cannot use that video because your shadow makes the entire piece of paper unseeable. Now, this is extremely frustrating, but it can be fixed, and it's not the end of the world. You can't fix it for any videos that you already broke unless you have some kind of weird contrast saturation video editor thing that'll fix it completely for you. That'd be magic. But aside from dark sorcery, about the best thing I can think of is just putting a lamp on both sides of you, so that way the shadow is cast in both directions, but the light cancels both shadows. And it doesn't completely work per se, but it does a good enough job that you can always tell what's going on. And that happens. So you know, you have to remember, art is one of those things. It's a craft, it's a trade, and mistakes happen, and you can't really beat yourself up about it, and you definitely can't walk around feeling lousy because something happened that wasn't supposed to. It's just, it is what it is. I mean, this is the next thing that artists go through is when you're drinking something, right? Or when someone you know is drinking something, and either it spills all over your paper, or you set your mug down on the table somewhere and it lands on a piece of artwork that you don't remember leaving there, and you end up with like a coffee ring or a mug or like a little circle imprint on your drawing. And I'm like, well, I guess I can put a moon there now. I mean, what am I supposed to do with that? Am I supposed to improvise? There are no mistakes in art. No, that is a lie. There are definitely mistakes in art. It's just sometimes you can erase them. I mean, for real. Gosh, people. So, anywho, that's about all I've got for examples of things that are crazy annoying for artists. If you think of any that I missed, be sure and let me know. I know there's a ton of them that I didn't list. You know, I'm not smart enough to think of all of them. But those are just the ones that are forefront in my mind right now, because I experienced almost all of them while I was drawing this picture. If you're a fan of Ultron, or you just liked the picture that I drew, let me know. Comment about it. Subscribe if you want to. But this video is pretty much over, so if you want to watch it again, you'll have to re-watch it. But definitely subscribe to my channel, comment below, and have a great day, you guys.